Hi, welcome everybody to our continuing webinar series and part 2 of our presentation from Emagia on the journey to smarter accounts receivable management. We have today with us 2 of Emagia's people to present to you. Veena Gundavelli is the founder and CEO of Emagia and also an award-winning serial technology entrepreneur with extensive experience in the fields of artificial intelligence, data analytics, automation for enterprise financial services. She's highly recognized for visionary ideas and paradigm-shifting innovations. Under her leadership, Emagia emerged as the leader in order-to-cash automation solutions with its award-winning GIA, AI-powered enterprise digital finance workforce for enterprises, and the award-winning Emagia AI-powered order-to-cash platform. And also joining Veena today is Dexter Peavy, who is the Director of Order-to-Cash Transformation for Emagia. Dexter has over 25 years of hands-on and consulting experience across multiple industries. Dexter not only ensures the success delivery of the Emagia solution set, but offers Emagia's clients best practice process design and the relevant metrics to drive collections, minimize risk, improve cash flow, and provide senior management with quality information to support the decision-making process. As we go through today's webinar, if you have any questions, please type them either in the Q&A or the chat boxes on the bottom of your screen, and we'll take them as they come. Okay, thank you. And I'll turn it over to Veena and Dexter.
Veena, we can't hear you.
Not here. Okay.
More volume.
Are you able to hear me okay, Dexter?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you for the nice introduction. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And thank you for joining us today. This is the second session with NACM Connect this year, and we look forward to sharing with you more information about the digital receivables journey and today's topic, journey to smarter receivables. I'm Veena Gundavelli, founder CEO of Emagia, and joining with me is Dexter Peavy. Dexter, a few minutes.
Sure.
A quick introduction.
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. My name is Dexter Peavy. Thank you, Veena, and thank you, NACM members, for being here today. We'll be going over not only what are some of the core functionality that we offer, but also more importantly, or equally important, is how you can take advantage of the solutions that are offered today in today's marketplace to really streamline your organization, to make it more efficient, to automate many of the processes. So your collection staff, your dispute staff, cash app staff has some time freed up so they can concentrate on the key issues. And we'll be showing you some of that today. So Veena, why don't you start off?
Great. So today's session is going to be an educational session, and right before we dive into the session, a quick introduction about Emagia and what kind of expertise we bring to the table. We are a recognized leader in digital order to cash, and we've been recognized by leading industry analysts. Our platform is a digital order to cash platform, which basically brings an integrated solution, yet a very modular solutions going all the way from orders management, credit, invoicing, cash applications, deductions, and others. What we bring to the table is the automation, analytics, and AI. And our claim to fame is primarily bringing the digital order to cash best practice metrics. With that, let's dive right into today's session. Today's session is about the journey to smarter receivables management. We're going to cover 4 different topics. The first one is around digital trends in receivables management. We'll dive into understanding a little bit about digital technologies. I'm sure a lot of you are hearing a lot of new technology words out there. And when you're evaluating products or solutions and understanding how these technologies make a difference, it's important for you to know. So we'll cover a little bit about introduction of digital technologies. Then we'll dive right into digital processes. What does that mean, going through the digital journey and landing up into a totally new process? What is a digital process? What does that mean for you? And lastly, we'll talk about the digital advantage. What kind of, efficiency, effectiveness, and cost advantage do you get with digital? So these are the 4 topics that we will cover, and any questions, answers, please feel free to ask us at the end of the session. We'll have about 10 minutes reserved for that. So with that, let me dive right into the digital trends. So first and foremost, as you have already seen, post-pandemic, everything is going digital. Front office, back office.
Veena, please move the phone, your headphone jack.
You hear me better?
That's good.
Okay, very good.
Speak up.
So as you see, back in 2020, when Deloitte predicted, finance 2025, we've already talked about how all the finance processes are going digital. The finance factory, going with the touchless transactions, accounts receivable, accounts payable, R2R, all of those processes, are becoming touchless transactions. And we'll talk about what does that mean by touchless transactions. Role of finance operations, is going from transactions management to managing the operations, leveraging business insights. So there's a extreme focus on insight and how do you manage with that. Finance cycles are going real time. Deductions are going real time. Cash application is going real time. A lot of finance processes are going real time. And we're going to look at, what does that mean for all of us? Self-service is becoming a norm. Operating models are changing from, purely human staff to human automation, robotics, all of that, AI, algorithms, all of that is coming into the picture. And information from ERP systems is becoming, easier to access through APIs and others. And finally, data, workflow, workplace, everything is changing. And we're going to talk about today as to what does that mean with the new systems. Now, the Hackett Group, has done, several, research surveys, understanding, what does that mean, having digital solutions. And some of the reports that they have published, clearly the digital processes give an advantage of over 60% in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, and cost advantage. So there's a clear, winner in terms of, going towards digital. So the business case is proven out there. There are early adopters that have taken these technologies and shown the benefits. So those companies, that are looking at, taking these technologies and, planning to implement over the next 6 months, over the next 12 months, there are enough examples to show you that there is a very strong business case. And, we will again cover, some of these business case topics, specific to the order to cash. So let's look at, order to cash. What does that mean from a priority perspective? Many companies, in the CFO office, order to cash, receivables management is a priority. And according to IDC, again, 60% of the companies are already engaged, in accounts receivable automation in some shape or form. And the drivers, are obviously some of the things, dealing with the pandemic, remote working, having remote workforce, ability to, manage information online. That's a big driver. Data security, making sure that, the paperwork or, the documents are not floating around in multiple different systems, but, coming together in a very secure manner is another, big driver. Extensibility, scalability, if you want to expand the operations, that's one of the key drivers. And of course, finally, limited IT resources to support the staff, as well as, limited, functional resources to support the operations. All of these are driving factors. And with that, again, the responsibility or, the motivation to go digital is very high. So what does that mean for the order to cash leaders? The order to cash mindset, has changed, and it has, shifted from being, manual, disconnected, workflows, being reactive in terms of, just, understanding, a customer issue and then having to, reactively solve that, versus becoming a very strategic player, becoming a strategic operator in terms of understanding what is the customer behavior, how can you automate, some of these workflows that arise on deduction issues, for example, or lack of documentation issues to solve a particular problem. How can you automate those workflows? How can you connect all of these different systems and have information available to you? And finally, being very predictive and to be able to look what's going to happen into the future. What is the cash flow going to look like? All of those different aspects, are a big mind shift change. So companies are moving away from managing day-to-day transactions to looking into the future and managing the cash flow, managing the deductions, and managing the customer behavior in a proactive manner. So now let's look at what does that mean in terms of putting together a digital order to cash platform use case. The business use case obviously is one, able to have better visibility and forecast. You're having a system to be able to predict and forecast and having better control. And that means directly having impact on cash flows, your DSOs. Today in the pandemic, you're already seeing many companies are delaying payments. Ability to understand the DSOs and proactively manage that particular behavior is something that a digital order to cash platform can better provide. And finally, I think the digital customers and digital business, right? So most companies are shifting towards digital customers. For example, many companies are changing their front office systems, are inviting customers to transact with them in a digital way. So back office and order to cash can no longer be in a traditional manner. Back office has to go digital, and that is one of the strong use case coming in from sales and customer service organizations to move the digital platform as an agenda for 2021. Operations cost and scalability is also a big driver. These digital systems promise tremendous scalability and huge cost advantage. You will see in some of the cases, for example, with cash application, when you have 90 to 95% of the transactions happening in a straight through processing without human touch, that's a huge advantage, and that gives you scalability and operations cost stability, right? So these are the key drivers. Again, to summarize: visibility and forecasting, cash flow and DSO improvements, moving to digital, business models and digital customers, and operating cost and, scalability. So now let's look at understanding, some of these technologies. So when you evaluate these platforms, and when you put together those RFPs, or try to understand what the vendors are presenting out there, I think it's really important for you to understand, what some of these technologies and the terms mean, and what do they bring for you, right? So first and foremost, some of the technologies, that are very commonly used out in the new generation digital order to cash systems, starts out with machine learning, AI kind of processes. So what is machine learning? Machine learning is the ability to take the information, the data from your process, your documents, all of that put together, and predict the patterns, going on with your data. So machine learning is an aspect of AI, which basically brings you computational intelligence and tells you exactly this customer is going to pay you, in 45 days, or so and so customer is, will most likely, dispute on a particular invoice, or this particular payment most likely is going to be matched up with so and so invoice. All of those different aspects, are dealt with what we call as machine learning. You will hear this term, quite a bit. And when you're doing the evaluation with the vendors, you will again, come across this term in a very, in a familiar way. Data-driven process. Once you have this ability of, machine learning, you can now, empower your teams with the intelligence to drive, data-driven process, instead of, having an Excel spreadsheet and going through a list of items to deal with. You can now, use, the data to prioritize and make sure that you are able to address, those customer issues that are high impact. Advanced analytics, give you dashboards and, give you information, to, bring out reports on various different aspects. Application programming interfaces. Again, this is a technical term, but this is a term where, you can easily see, is the information able to flow between your system and the ERP systems. And finally, digital assistants. That's a popular, functionality these days. Today, every one of us, we are using, CD, Google Assistant, and Amazon Alexa, and several other assistants. In order to cash, today, most order to cash platforms, the leading ones, like the ones, like Emagia has, we have a digital assistant that, is capable of assisting you on your everyday activities with order to cash. And that's, something that is becoming a commonplace, and new generation systems are expected to have a digital assistant. So with those terms, let me just quickly dive into areas of automation. First and foremost, the areas that are getting automated are processes where you require a lot of manual, repetitive activities. What are those? Activities that involve gathering information from customer portals, for example, or gathering information from a logistics provider, gathering information from a bank or a logbox. All of these different areas where you are now today spending a lot of time gathering data is all getting automated. And today, most of these systems are able to bring the information from all of these external systems, also read the documents, and to be able to translate those documents into data. Instead of taking a remittance advice from an email and manually preparing your Excel spreadsheet, Today, with these digital technologies, the systems are able to read the documents, are able to prepare the data, and able to fill the system's screens seamlessly, right? So automation is definitely in the data gathering and the data processing side of the business. Next, taking that piece of information and applying machine learning to be able to understand what is happening with your customers. Descriptive analytics are reports that tell you what are the trends that are happening out there. Predictive analytics, predicting what is going to happen with an invoice or with a particular customer behavior, payment behavior, or disputes, or cash flow forecasting. All of that happening on predictive side. And based on that, again, prescriptive analytics telling you, which customers, do you need to call up today, or, which deductions, you need to handle in a certain way. All of that comes under prescriptive analytics. And today, all of that is getting embedded right into the system. So that way your system tells you which letter to send to the customer today. For example, if a invoice does not have the right if the receipt doesn't have the right invoices associated with that, the system can tell you, let's send this letter to the customer, right? So these are all proactive measures that are coming into the system. And then let's talk about digital assistants, right? Today, if you're able to ask Siri, how is the weather like? Or, how can I go from my home to, my office? Give me a map. Similarly, with digital assistants in order to cash, you should be able to ask, did so-and-so customer, make the payment, this week? Bring me, or show me the invoices of so-and-so customers, or send a letter to that customer. Or, when you talk to the customer, to be able to take that voice transcript and, convert that as a notes for you. All of those different things, digital assistants should be able to do that. And these digital assistants are coming to you, to the order to cash and to the receivables management space. And every receivables staff, every receivables manager, every receivables executive should be able to use a digital assistant to make the decisions, the operations, a lot more faster and in a meaningful way. And we're going to talk about how you can use this. And today, again, we'll be happy to share with you how these digital assistants are making tremendous difference for companies who are able to take advantage of them. Finally, one of the big thing that is as a trend going on right now is adoption of digital payments. Traditionally, digital payments were credit card payments, and with credit cards, typically you or most companies would have to pay a fees of anywhere from 2.5 to 3%, or sometimes more on the overall fees. Now today, with banks opening up the open banking APIs, what is happening is companies are able to make B2B payments that are ACH payments, or basically the B2B transfers at a very low cost. Sometimes it is a dollar for the transaction or less than that. And today, most companies, and especially in the digital order to cash space, the platforms, like the ones like Emagia and some of the other platforms that are out there, these are now carrying capabilities that give these digital payments capabilities to your customers to be able to make an electronic check payment, electronic fund transfer, or a wire, or a cross-border, payment that is, of a very low fees. So that is, again, becoming an essential functionality in the order to cash platforms. So when you are evaluating some of these order to cash platforms, this is an area that you can definitely look at, speeding up your order to cash process by providing these digital payments capabilities. So with that as an introduction of the technologies, um, Dexter will now walk you through how all of these come together in your core processes. We'll walk you through credit, collections, cash applications, deductions, and all of these different processes, and how some of these AI, analytics, automation, digital technologies, they all come together. So with that, over to you, Dexter.
Okay, thank you very much, Veena. Let's go to the next slide. Did it, Veena? There we go. Okay, thank you, Veena. So Veena's given you the rationale and what is available out there today. What I'm going to do is walk through each of the processes in the order to cash cycle. And we really want to start with what's important here is the customer. And the customer, to many of us, could be one customer in one division. But quite often today in our larger corporations, every division might have that one customer, and they report it as their one customer. And also we have customers that have subsidiaries, so parent and child relationships. But what we find out there is these customers are in silos. And what we want to do is look at the entire portfolio of all of our customers. Oh, go back, Veena. Look at the entire portfolio of our customers so that we have a greater understanding. And more often than not, we see the traditional Division 1 has their Excel spreadsheet, Division 2 has their Excel spreadsheet, etc. So what we try to do here is show at a glance, at one time, the total view of the customer, not only of that customer and all of their associated business risk with their divisions, but also combined with all of the other customers. So we have the ability today to look at parent-child relationships, the entire portfolio risk, the consolidated risk, etc. And the customer master, of course, here is key. A clean customer master, I think we're all striving for, but the ability to update the customer master from a credit point of view as well is very important. So when a risk changes at one level, it is rolled all the way up to the corporate level. So you, as a finance person, have a complete view and understanding of your customers. And that is sort of a foundation building block for managing risk, payables, etc. Veena, next slide, please. So credit is where many of us start. Many of us have started with the paper application, the emails, the letters, chasing information. Well, today that has almost disappeared. The days of the file cabinets and looking for the credit information and the reports are now all digital. So it starts even with a digital credit app that can be electronically sent, signed, and returned in a matter of minutes. That's used, today we're utilizing bots to go out for licenses, tax certificates, etc., where these are available. We've integrated with most of the credit bureaus and credit reporting agencies. Obviously, many of us here in the United States use DNB and Experian, but there are many others out there, and you might have some foreign subsidiaries. And all of those, I would say 95% of the bureaus out there today have electronic APIs that we can connect to and retrieve that information to complete the credit application. From there, many of us today still use Excel spreadsheets to do the scoring. that again can be automated from the very complex Z-scores, etc. But automate that entire scoring process. And that gives you a few things. That can give you standardization across your own company, as well as across all of your business units. And these, of course, can be modified for location differences. But the ability to say, this is how we do it, and this is how it's done correctly, sometimes gets rid of the gray area, but not all of the gray area can disappear. So if we automate 85% of the credit application process, that frees up the credit analyst to concentrate on those issues that are borderline or of high value, and can make a huge impact. So the goal here really is to automate as much of the credit process as possible, freeing up your credit staff to concentrate on the key customers and the key issues. Veena? Quite often we see customers that every order that goes out has to be approved by someone, and it's often a process. Several people get involved. Well, why not release a percentage of those orders automatically? And by that, we're bringing in credit information, we're bringing in past payment information, we're grabbing the alerts. As many of us know out here today, bankruptcies have risen tremendously in the last year and a half. For example, if you're in the food service industry, that was obviously a very important, it's been a very difficult cycle for them, as many of the restaurants have gone out of business. But the ability to have an alert come into your system automatically, so that you know right off the bat that Dexter Peavy restaurant is in trouble, that will at least pull that one aside, allowing your credit, your finance team to give it a review. That way, most of these companies can go through the sales order release process automatically. Again, looking at 85% flow through, but the ability to send that order out without having human intervention to review it, and do it without interfering in the order release process or holding up an order, and doing it proactively is very important. Again, as Veena mentioned, we had digital, you can stay put, the digital assistants can come into play as well there. So collections, this is where our cash flow is. We're all improving, we all want to lower our DSO, improve our aging, improve our cash flow, etc. So collections, we have the ability, again, to automate collections. Now, we're not automating all of collections. What we're doing is we're automating collections where appropriate. And this can range from the difficult task that many of you out there have is going to a customer portal to pull and to push data or invoices at the customer portal level. And we see that with your large, Ariba's, Talia's, etc. portals out there. And if anyone here has done that, you know how long and difficult the process is. Automate that invoicing process to portals. Now, in addition to that, we all have collected in dollar descending order, etc. We still see out there, collector 1 has A through J and collector 2 has K through Z or something. But reality is we've shifted to the dollar descending order, but now let's put in even more. Let's put in past payment behavior. Let's put in credit risk. Let's put in location in the country. Many things you can do automatically to prioritize your collector's daily activities. And it really comes down to good data, having the ability to predict the future collections, combine that with a strategy to bring in the dollars that are of greatest value and greatest risk sooner. And it's the tools today are wonderful, and they can really assist doing that. But if you complement that, the collection strategy with the digital assistant, you can reach 100% of your customers every week, every month, whatever is appropriate. But we know as collectors, and if you have 2,000 accounts, you're going to get to 200, 300, 400 of them a month. and you'd never get to those ones at the bottom or in the middle. With a digital assistant, you can utilize the digital assistant to do the same thing you do as a collector and still get the attention of your customers automatically, have them pay you automatically online, have them, even for that matter, if they have a dispute saying, I disagree with the tax, they can actually talk to the digital assistant, and that communication goes right back to the collector. So it's freeing up their time to concentrate on what they've always been doing, but concentrate on the key accounts at the same time, not ignoring the small accounts. Without this, or with this, I should say, we're combining the active alerts from your credit bureaus and other services so that you're always on top of any changes your customers might have. Vina, next slide, please. Deductions, they are plaguing us all. And I think deductions, we were just on a call earlier, Vina and I, deduction processing has climbed through the roof. There seem to be more deductions out there than ever. And by not addressing a deduction quickly, you're going to lose a customer. And so the name of the game not only is to address them, resolve them, issue a credit or a debit, but with all the information out there, this is a tough job for us all. You've got PODs to collect, bill of ladings, you've got to check promo and allowance, etc. What we want to do in the digital world is automatically pull these key backup materials for you so that you're not chasing it all day long. Now, the most important part of resolving deductions is identifying them by reason code, and that could be via a phone call, or most often today with the big box folks, it's going to come in the form of via the portal or a remit to, or a side Excel spreadsheet or a communication not directly via the bank. So you now have another means of gathering information. We want to automate that for you. And by automating that means we're going to find where that information is coming from. We're going to find that information that is repetitive on that data flow so that you can translate Home Depot's deductions, which are going to be different, have different names than Target's deductions or Walmart's deduction, put those into a meaningful reason dispute codes that are the codes that you use as a company, and then capture that data by customer, by type, by dollar, etc., so that at the end of the day, the end of the week, etc., you have meaningful data to then drill down to the root cause. Another thing we find is our customers with, especially CPG, but in many industries, they're not taking one deduction, they're taking multiple deductions. They might take multiple pricing deductions, multiple promo deductions, concealed shortages, whatever it may be. The ability to not process one deduction at that time, but to process multiple deductions at a time is a huge time saver. And again, digital assistants come into play here, both for your internal customers, utilizing it with sales or customer service or shipping, but also with your external customers, the end users of your products, so that they can utilize digital assistants. All of this really comes down to A, speeding up the time to resolve a deduction, B, capturing the data so that you can really fix the problem, and C, most importantly, keeping your customer. Next slide, Vina. Cash application. Many of us have moderately sophisticated cash application processes. We see a range from 100% manual to 99.9% automated. And it's really something that I think most of us out there today should have automation. If you don't, it's a very easy thing to implement. It gives you a huge bang for your buck. It's well worth it. And what it really starts with today is the ability to take that information from your lockbox, extract that information, read that information, and then bring it into your ERP package and apply it to the open invoices. Today, the ability to read all the different banking formats, the ability to understand customers, whether they be parents or children or third party, the ability to use, in the old days it was manual, then OCR, then ML, and AI. So we're combining, Emagia combines all of that functionality into the cash application process to really have straight through processing from external remit tos, from lockbox information, from customer, even from customer emails, which is quite common. And even in the email, it might be an attachment or it might be in the body of the text. Please apply this $100 to invoice 123. Could be just in the body of the text. So with AI, we can read the body of the text, or we can understand that the remit to information is in an attached spreadsheet. Again, sometimes we just can't apply that cash. We don't have any information. We have to go to the customer and ask them. And that's a step that often is put off to the end of the day. But with the digital assistant, you can utilize a digital assistant to actually communicate with the customer and say, thank you very much for your payment for $1,000, but I need your help and tell me what invoice that gets applied to. The customer can respond and say, oh, that gets applied, $500 to invoice 1 and $400 to invoice 2 and $100 to invoice 3. All of that's recorded, and that can be actually transferred and automatically applied in the cash application module. And then, of course, back to your ERP. Vina, next slide. Portals. Many of us have portals. Most of us probably use portals. But the ability to set up your new customers or your existing customers and give them the option of having a portal, that allows them the ability to see their invoicing, their statements, to communicate with you, to pay invoices. There are many systems. You might have your own payment gateway. If you don't, there are plenty of payment gateways available. I think you'll see things out there. Even, PayPal, we all know, but there are multiple payment gateways out there that not only take credit cards, but as Vina said, we're shifting to the ACH debit type of payment. It's a lot less expensive. Instead of paying 3% or so on a Visa card, you're utilizing maybe down to 0.08% when you're doing an ACH type of transaction. Again, with the portal is available around the clock. Wherever your customers are, they might be in a totally different time zone, or they might have different shifts, but the portal doesn't go to sleep. It's always there 24/7. And also the portal allows your customers to not only view their invoices, but also to place the payments and actually do the cash posting for you, which is a nice little feature. Portals work wonderfully. For your smaller customers, they work perfectly for any new customer. That's the time to get them on. There is some learning out there. Not everyone's going to turn the switch on, but with programs that we develop, we can help you have your customers adopt to your portal very quickly. Vina? Not the most important, but one of the most important things is reporting. We're inundated with data, and you want to be able to have data at your fingertips, but you also want to have data that's meaningful. And we find dashboards, dashboards can be very helpful. They can, of course, spot the issues right off the bat, but we can tailor dashboards to every functional area of the order to cash process. So a CFO might just want how much cash came in today, what's the change in DSO, and what's our aging, period. But throughout the organization and throughout the order to cash cycle, you want to develop meaningful dashboards so that you have the information to do your job better at your level. And as we all know, our boss is always saying, give me the report of A, B, or C. And if you're the credit manager or the collection manager, you're trying to, I almost guarantee you're spending more of your time making reports for somebody than doing your job. And so we want to eliminate that, but not eliminate the report, but free up your time so that you can say, yes, here's the cash application report. Today we had a 95% hit rate. We had 300 customers that paid us, and it was $122 million came in. So you want to be able to crisply, quickly, and accurately report up what it is that is meaningful to your company. And we help you work to design reports that make sense, because there is no such thing as a report an aging report that is identical in every company. People have different aging buckets. People have different needs. People want to see them by different business units. So we work with you to customize reports, but also these reports are customizable by your staff as well, so that if they wanted to see something in a different order, it's almost as simple as click. But reporting is key. A full package of reporting is important, and we customize it for your needs. Next slide, Rena. We'll go to the next slide, which I think, okay. So at the end of the day, we're about performance or tangible dollars or tangible efficiency, tangible effectiveness. Everyone's aging is at a different level, but 85% current. We have customers that are 95% current. We have customers that have 90% hit rates on Cash App. We want to approve credit. That's a tricky screen. All of these metrics are static, but what the most important thing, you can go to the next slide, I'll talk to it. The most important thing about a metric is constant improvement. And your stake in the ground is where you are today. You have corporate goals, of course, but constant improvement is what we're looking for, what you're looking for, and tangible dollar improvement. And that could be tangible cash, could be tangible efficiencies. One thing about the digital world today and our economy and our businesses today is that many of us are acquiring companies. And by acquiring companies, that could mean hire more people. But the advantage of a digital order to cash system is it's very scalable. And you can still work the same. You can work an added volume of transactions with potentially the same number of people. Finally, you see a slide here. Unisys is just a simple case study. Unisys, as many of you know, is an IT company. They're global. They have about, 40 or 50 operations throughout the world in over 70 or 80 countries. And what they needed is an order to cash solution, soup to nuts. And they specifically, most of their platform was Oracle, but they had multiple legacy systems. And the Emagia system, one of our strengths, is taking multiple legacy, multiple ERP packages, and then pulling the information from those systems, putting it in one place for your order to cash folks so that they can view the entire order to cash, customers, data, etc., from one location. But also when you're out in the field, they can also work independently to do their collection activities, their Cash App activities, etc. And Unisys is global. They were in multiple languages, French, German, Italian, Spanish, etc. Multiple systems, huge receivables, lots of transactions. And we basically, through the implementation, have had tremendous results from improving their AR, I think one thing that really stands out is the ability to reach out to every single customer. Their cash application hit rate was tremendous, and the ability to look at, they have the same customer in multiple business units, the ability to view the risk that is spread out throughout the world and roll it up into one place was a huge asset for them. So a very successful implementation with Unisys, and we have more, but we think one is enough for today. Veena, back to you. I can't hear you, Veena.
Thank you, Dexter. So with that, again, you have seen what the digital trends are for the receivables management, the introduction to digital technologies, the terms, and the what these technologies can do for you. And you've also seen how these technologies can come together on a platform and result in a digital process. And finally, you have seen what the digital advantage this technologies deliver for you, right? So with that, we come to the conclusion of the webinar, and we'd like to take some questions from the audience. We have about 10 minutes. Please feel free to send your questions in the chat area.
It doesn't seem there are any questions, Veena.
Very good.
We'll give it another minute, but in the meantime, thank you both very much for this and your previous webinar. We appreciate your partnership and your educating our members, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Lillian. It was a pleasure speaking at this webinar, and we look forward to sharing more information as and how anyone have any questions. Please reach out to us or reach out to NACM Connect. We'll be happy to take care of your questions.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.